think I hear some clicking.
The speed on Anatan's hand as we speak. We can't quite see Beasties, but I'm sure the speed is comparable without a doubt, as we do get confirmation that the game is ready, and we are back here for game number 1. It is going to be Beasty, as Rus, of course, in the color yellow, spawning in the south side of the map, facing Border Esports is Anotand in the color green, spawning the north side of Coastal Cliffs this time round as the Japanese. And again, Anatan opts to go for that spear opening, so clearly believing in its strength. And I think it has paid off last game, right? So it should be still an effective strategy here. Because the thing is, right, we mentioned about potentially Beasty keeping the hunting cabin safe. But that's not easy to do, Winston, is it, right? I mean, the issue is that to get optimal gold generation from those hunting cabins as the Rus, they have to be spaced out. They have to go outside of the TC range. You can't get them both to give you optimal income and be safe at the same time, right? And Anatan is looking to take full advantage of that.
And we'll see, is this, let's see, is this hunting cabin safe? Did Beasty learn a lesson? Or maybe he just thinks he understands this matchup well enough that, so a big difference here is the Vils can repair, right? This is a huge advantage, this difference, right? Like, that's a really solid position for him now. Like, wow, that restart really gonna impact things, I think, because now you can send a Vil to repair, and look, he's got all of his Vils really ready to garrison. Like, it just won't be the same situation. We'll see if we get 3 spearmen like we saw last time. It looks like only 2, as Anatan maybe has scouted that the damage here isn't guaranteed. You see Beasty needs a little bit of wood before he sends a Vil out, so the timing is a little tight here. Might actually lose this if he's not careful, but I think he will be.
Yeah, it's you know, the effect is going to be similar, right? There's a delay being forced here from Anatan onto that Pro Scouts that will really pay dividends in the long run, because as I mentioned briefly last game, the strength of Rus nowadays, at least when playing this strategy in particular, is that sharp timing on the castle edge boosted by the safe day under the town center that allows you to achieve an overwhelming mass of horse archers, which once you do reach that critical mass of 15 to 20 and growing, very few compositions can deal with that, even on a map like Coastal Cliffs. Now, the horse archers do lose a little bit of value on this kind of a map. There's not as much room to maneuver. Cavalry in general can struggle on a map like Coastal Cliffs a bit more than your Dry Arabias or your other more open maps. But if Anatan is able to keep Beasty pinned in that feudal age for a while longer, the horse archers lose so much value. Not only do you have less there to work with, so you can't get up those numbers as much, but when there's already a respectable standing army from Anatan in that feudal age, then the horse archers will need way higher numbers to be potent, by which point it might be too late.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we see similar stuff around the rest of it, right? We have Kura Storehouse and Golden Gate for the players. Things here look relatively similar. The big difference, though, is I think Beasty's going to be able to click prop scouts much earlier, right? Because he has Golden Gate. I think last game it was delayed like a full tick. I mean, at this point we're ending the similarities, so it's all just a new game now and new mindset, but I don't know, that just has to be in your head as a player, right? But we'll see what the follow-up is, I think. I think you're really onto something here. Last game, if this plays out any bit similar, it really did seem like Beasty was a little bit on the back foot. We see this Wooden Fortress already. That's going to cover things nicely. Another delay.
It is indeed a delay, because quite notably here, Winston, right, we see the Wooden Fortress is prioritized ahead of that Pro Scouts here. That might have been the case last game as well. I may have just missed it, but the delay is clear already, right? And we even see double Broadaxe actually being chosen here. Right? Oh no, actually he cancelled this straight away. Might have been either a mistake or he changed his mind at that point in time. But normally Rus can get a 415, 420 timing for when that Pro Scouts technology begins if everything is optimal in the start. But that is not the case here. Now Beasty has the resources to go for it. There it goes in Q once again. And again, exactly the same timing as last game. So the opening's pretty much identical.
Yeah, the difference is he's up a hunting cabin and a house. He's up like a lot of wood and gold income. Like, I think this is like a pretty substantial difference, and I'm very curious if Anatan is planning anything different. It doesn't really seem too different. I think we're seeing a second range here, whereas we didn't before. So I think that's like some slight alteration here, but beyond that, I think we're just in a new situation, and we'll see how this pans out.
Yeah, quite notably, right, we saw Anatan prioritize that stable opening in the last game to follow up from those spears after seeing the archery range commitment from Beasty, but instead it's going to be double archery range this time here for Anatan. And I gotta say, I actually prefer this choice way more here instead of the stable. The problem here for Beasty, right, is you want to invest into those archers to push the spears away, but you can't just keep making too many archers. And in the day, we're talking about that delay in going up to that castle age. It's something Beasty definitely wants to avoid unless he decides to fully commit to the feudal age. Whereas for Anatan here, 2 Yumi on the field already before Beasty has even his first archer out on the field. And I feel like Anatan is going to keep committing to these Yumi for a while longer.
Yeah, and it's a good choice, I think. You get to the mass earlier here, which is I think is going to be nice, but I don't know if the scouts are going to care as much about just 4 Yumi as they would maybe if that was 4 spears instead, but we do see the archer out for Beasty. The scout going to be forced to drop it. A little bit of micro here. This denial is somewhat important. If too many scouts go down, it's really bad. Right now, Beasty does not have the food right at this moment to really afford making more scouts. He really wants to be able to invest that into units. So losing one is a bit painful, but not the end of the world. We do see some of those upgrades from the Forge coming in for Anatan. So another alteration here. We see early Forge upgrades instead of pure eco. So maybe less of an incentive here to go Castle Ages quickly, perchance, or maybe we're going to see just a couple Yumi into FC. I'm not sure still because that food count is growing and a lot on gold still. So I'm curious what Anatan's plan is really going to be at this point.
With this double archery range commitment here, I think the Steel Arrow makes a lot of sense in this situation, right? In the last game, there was that stable priority there from Anotand and then the Yumi as a follow-up afterwards. But now, with double archery range on the field, the additional Steeled Arrow earlier on, before Castle Age in this case, is going to yield way better results than it would have in the last game. And we see his own Iron Undermesh coming in now as well. So already Anatan's archers significantly more potent than Beasty's here, despite their weaker stats initially. As Anatan is going to keep swelling those numbers for now. As we mentioned, Iron Undermesh is coming in, and he's not going to go for the Furasashi here in this second game, at least just in this first game remake just yet.
Triple range for Beasty, so he's really looking to catch up on those numbers, and even adding the stable, so we're going to see a pretty nice commitment here in Feudal Age. I don't know, how do you feel about that, like seeing Knight Archer from Roos right now? Do you think he's got enough like advantage economically to really make this pan out against Japan's castle timing later?
I feel like this can be a good choice here from Beasty, under the caveat that there's actual profit made here, right? If you invest into triple archery range, maybe even Knights here as Beasty, I think you really want to do so, specifically if you can secure some of your opponent's dare, right? If Beasty can get some of Anatan's side dare on his side of the map towards back home under his TC, then the investment pays off, right? Whatever units you commit to, they are then paid back by the end. That is going to be the case, as Beasty actually, uncontested, is going to be able to grab some of Anatan's dare. Anatan with 18 Yumi is instead towards the southern side of Beasty's, and if Anatan doesn't spot this, that could be huge.
Well, I think a really big deal is about to happen. So Yumi are faster than archers.
Yeah.
Like Beasty just put all of his units at a ton of risk here. He built the 3 ranges. He canceled production. He didn't make any knights, and he's just going to try and do a little damage, force the Yumi far, far away because his archers, I think, have gone completely unspotted, and they're about to hit the gold and the berries. Okay, not the gold, the berries. Sorry, my bad. And that's just what is happening here. So the scouts are going to have to drop, and now these Yumi are going to be able to catch these archers, and behind this, Beasty is now going to be able to age up. Wow, so maybe a little bit of passiveness from Anatan has given Beasty a lot of legroom here. And now, you know, earlier I was like, I don't know how much I love Feudal Knights, but Castle Age Knights against these Feudal Yumi, I love. And it might be a bit before they're all upgraded and in position. I mean, Anatan is looking down the barrel of Castle Age with his economy right now, but it's going to be a minute before there. I don't think you're going to want to put your Yorishiro in your archery range here. I mean, maybe if you see a big commitment to Knights, you're going to make Onimusha. So maybe that's the plan here from Anatan, but it feels like then you're lacking the front line from Mounted Samurai. It could be a rough trade-off, and even the gold denial here from Beasty, such a big moment, is at play right now. I mean, the high trade house, it's not an optimal position, but it's still a Castle Age.
Yeah, it's a pretty weird position here for Anatan to be in. But for Beasty as well, for that matter. Like thieves in the night, those Yumi and archers passed each other, right? Now, the Yumi did manage to catch those scouts taking the Grand Day heist home. The problem for Beasty is that a lot of those archers did go down. We see it reflected in the destroyed value. His archers did get caught with their pants down, for that matter, on the retreat. They're going back to the base, and these as well, after 9th gold, they will get caught here. And I mean, sure, you're throwing a couple units away. They did get their value, but the mass speaks for itself here. Anatan, 26 Yumi and 3 spares with floating gate on the way. And Beasty again pivots into the horse archers.
I think it's worth it though. Like those 3 archers, right? Would you pay, almost 200 res to or a little over 200 res to put your opponent's army on the north corner of the map? Like, I think that's a very valuable thing to do at this stage. So I think that Beasty is going to be okay with that. He even got value denying some gold for a little bit. So it wasn't completely for naught. We didn't see any Vil kills, still no destroyed Vils. And obviously Beasty losing all those archers is much worse on the trade so far, like resource-wise, right? But we'll see how quickly he can catch up in army value. It's only 500 behind, and we'll see how fast that catches up. He is lacking the mass, but are these Yumi really that potent? I mean, they're going to be vet Yumi, but is it really the start? Are Knights in Castle Age really that scared of vet Yumi?
The Knights themselves are not too scared of the Yumi, I would say, but the Horse Archers, it's a bit of a different story. Now, the Horse Archers, once they do have those Blacksmith upgrades in, and especially Boyar's Fortitude in, it's not as big of a role as the Scouts do get spotted by the Yumi. A couple will be peeled off to snipe the Scout, but
they
the rest get away.
passively did that. I don't think that was just an attack move, and they just caught the vision. That's crazy. I mean, still 2 passing by is huge here. Beasty's economy going to continue to be powered by this. Just buying him even more time to ignore the farm transition and keep contending with kind of the amount of military, the sheer amount that Anatan has on the field. It is kind of a scary number, especially if we start to see a big mounted samurai mass to protect the Yumi from the enemy knights.
Particularly interested to see where that Yorishiro went, as I think the Mounted Samurai are being produced a little bit slower than I anticipated. Maybe the Yorishiro was placed somewhere else for that matter. We can have a little look here. It seems like it's somewhere else, I think. Oh, it is in the stable. Okay, he might have just cut production for a brief moment there. As Beasty gets the slightly dire news that there might be slightly more Yumi on the field than he anticipated here, with the upgrade and veterans on them now in as well. And Beasty slightly pressed for food in this game. So many Daycoxes scattered on the map, and he moves forward to try to go to Anatan's side of the map, but the Yumi are in position. 3 of the Horse Archers go down for free.
Yeah, this mass from Anatan just seems so solid. It doesn't seem like Beasty's going to get good trades here, and losing these units is really, really tough. And oh my, from the player cams, are you seeing what I'm seeing?
Yeah, when the water starts being sipped, I think it's sign that something has gone very awry for a play in this game, as Beasty just straight up calls it Anatan with the same opening, just making it work and keeping Beasty pinned in his base. The Yumi were just too much.
Yeah, Anatan's got to be quite happy with that, He came in with a plan, and even though Beasty knew what it was, it worked. I think that's a really impressive thing, right? Getting that restart and still having the strategy executed and work in your favor has got to feel good, because now it's like you can't say Beasty was just caught, right? He knew what was coming, right? And it still worked, which proves that his prep, his boot camp, paying off. You got to wonder if both players are happy with the draft and you go into game 1 and lose. Now you're thinking, now you got to be second questioning the rest of your draft. I mean, maybe not in this case. There's some really solid civs for Beasty, but after that, you thought you had the number. You thought you knew how this matchup was going to go. And then to be wrong in game 1 can totally shift your mindset. And mindset is king in these games, right? You have to be on... You just have to be on point the whole time. And if the moment that stops, things can really start to unravel quickly. And I think we saw a bit of that in the last tournament where Anatan essentially upset Beasty. Yeah. And could we be seeing that here? Oh, we'll see. I'm so excited for this series. This is so good.
I know, like this has the potential to be a 3-0, equally has the potential to be a 5-2, to be a 3-2, right? Well,
3-2. You know what I mean. 5-2. We're here all night actually with the 5-2, but you know what I mean. And here we see it. So Yubin's going to have that really early dock with the cheaper docks, and that'll be Beasty building that on the right side in the yellow. And on the south side, we do have Anatan with the fearsome KT on water maps. Now, it is a bit tricky on this map, right? There's several reasons why KT could be considered manageable, right? 2 sacred sites, right? A lot more manageable than 3 on some maps, right? You can handle where they're going to go a lot more. You just need to kind of control the center, and you can deny gold income quite a lot from those early Pilgrim upgrades in Feudal Age. Additionally, a lot of the times your docks aren't in direct competition as opposed to Kawasan or, you know, more of the standard water maps, which means that really fast timing that Knights get, it's not necessarily going to pan out into direct military ownership of the pond that you're trying to fish in. And so I think we're seeing that here where Beasty, if he's able to just sort of deal with whatever fast timing comes out, we could see Anatan struggle, I think, in this mid game to secure pilgrims across the map, to have enough military, because, you know, if you're not really able to abuse the timing, things can start to feel really tricky. But we'll see what Anatan has up his sleeve, right? He picked this for a reason, right?
Indeed, he did pick it for a reason, and that also makes me wonder, Beasty must have picked Ayubids here for a reason as well. Ayubids, it's worth mentioning, you know, we talk about how incredibly potent KT is on these maps, but Ayubids is no slouch either, right? They can have so many incredible builds on these maps. I mean, you can skip dock altogether and just go for a fast age up and take your opponent utterly by surprise on their pond, deny them off completely and build fishing tempo from then on out and make them waste all of the resources they spent on the dock and the fishing ships. On the other hand, you can do what Beasty is doing right now, invest into that water, and then you can ask yourself, well, do I go for the fast age up, or do I potentially even go for an industry wing, which might delay my age up, but the resources you get, along with the build speed as well recently from the industry wing, allows you to just do a double ship pump, which can just knock Templars off of water completely if they are unprepared, or if they greed for that matter, which, I mean, greeding with Knights Templar on water is something that feels almost a given, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And, you know, Corvinus and I, earlier in the WAM Vortex series, we were just also talking about this, that industry might just be a bit too risky here. I mean, like, what are you really going to achieve with it if you don't already have a dock in the enemy's pond? The timing doesn't really pan out here. And we can see that with the second dock from Anatan, he's really looking to secure his own pond, not really risking sending a villa just right now to make great use of the timing. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, there's still time to build another dock forward, right?
Exactly. And Beasty looks like is slowly thinking about that age up. The gold is trickling in. Only 40 more needed for the age up here. I'm particularly curious what wing he would decide to go for, right? Typically it is that advancement wing or the industry wing like we spoke of, but I completely agree with you, Winston. The timings, I mean, Templars themselves, they do this fast age up so well. They sacrifice half a villager and a half to go for that age up, but it is so quick for them as a result, right? And they don't need to worry about building a landmark either, so their economy, similarly with the Ayubids and Awasid, will be in a very good state whilst they age up and post as well. It is going to be the economic wing industry for him, so a nice bit of wood that's going to be coming in for Beasty here in order to help his fishing boat as well as potentially military ship pump on these ponds. Now the only question is there going to be a contest on water?
I don't think we're going to see one right now. There's no forward vills. I mean, Beasty's obviously scouting out and checking now his own pond, making sure, just double checking. No sneaky Knight stock, but looks like it's not going to be anything crazy. So Knights Hospitaller, you know, now they get a little bit of move speed, right? It's a little bit different than it used to be, but mainly the Hospitaller Knight, you get a bit of HP on a bunch of your units. What are you really seeing here that's going to make this work compared to other options for KT here?
Yeah, I mean, the Hospitaller doesn't really surprise me here in this case. The additional health on the fishing ships is very notable. Not only the fishing ships, of course, but the villages as well, right? And as you mentioned, the move speed. Does the move speed actually apply to the fishing ships? It's not something I tested as of yet. That would
it does.
be Oh, that's massive then, isn't it?
Yeah, and also it also applies to the pilgrims, so they're slightly safer traveling across the map. It gives them just that little bit of like life, you know? It gives them a little bit of comfort as the game progresses, but we'll see. I mean, I'm not sure when we'll see the pilgrim text come in, especially if you're trying to maybe go castle or something.
Ah, there we go.
I guess it doesn't. TIL.
Oh yeah, it does not. Oh, surprising even.
Surprisingly, it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a really strong bonus, but the health does come in, right?
Yeah,
so any kind of contention on those spawns is going to be way harder for Beasty in this case, right? So, yeah, it's something that's to consider for sure if Beasty is going to look for that counter dock, but that is not going to be the case as we established. We see the docks on his side of the map and now going towards the northern pond. So Beasty is just going to play very classic here, I want to say. Just going to play it safe, going to go for his safe fishing, is going going to rely purely on his macro to carry him through this game in this case. And Anatan, right, I do wonder, that's something either will ask if he does win this series, or I'll even ask myself in my free time from him. I wonder whether the Hospitale choice is particularly because he believes is the best, or because he knows that going for the Kingdom of France here loses a lot of value against the IOBs, because of course, with the possibility of Desert Raiders, I mean, that's something the Chevalier Confrère are really going to struggle against.
Yeah, and surprisingly, this looks practice from Beasty. He used Industry to build 2 stables. I wasn't quite sure what he would do with the wood, but 2 stables is a really interesting choice. It gives you really fast production of those Desert Raiders, and we're going to see a few of them on the field now. That's crazy. Like,
It's very potent, isn't it? And actually, we have the first Hospital Knight making his way here. Not a unit we see very often, but certainly a welcome addition in the Masters of Steel here, as he is going to have a little swing of his mighty sword towards those villages. Just being a little bit annoying at this point in time, right? All this idle time at this level, Winston, as we know, every little tiny advantage adds up. Games are won not usually through single decisive maneuvers, but through, you know, through outplaying your opponent by a slight edge repeatedly throughout the game, as the Vil actually goes down.
That's crazy. Like, that is a crazy moment. To even be getting a Vil here when there's defenders there and Beasty is actively microing is kind of nuts. Clearly a big mistake in the micro. It slipped up here, and even using the cheeky healing here from the Hospitaler, but it's not quite going to be enough here. There's enough Desert Raiders to clear this. Surely. Wait, I say surely, but that Hospitaler is tanking like a beast, and the archers just keep taking shots off. That's a Desert Raider going down. The pressure is really starting to mount up. Only 3 Desert Raiders. A Horseman now joins the fray. Gonna start chasing down some of those archers, but right into a Spearman. And a misclick, not hitting the spear with the first volley from the Desert Raiders. The Horseman is gonna go down. What are we seeing here? The gold getting pressured would essentially spell the end of the game. The villagers are chopping wood feet away from the battle, and now they're starting to get hit by this Hospitaler.
This is the power of KT in these situations, right? Fueled by the fishing, by the additional wood food income as well. Anatan is actually able to contest, you know, essentially freely on Beasty's side of the map with infantry up against cavalry. Almost unprecedented, Winston, here in this case. As we see Anatan pushing forward, another villager goes down.
Another Desert Raider. And now the gold is pressured and the Vils have to retreat. What are we seeing here? This is 17-2 military count. Look at the destroyed value. It's 3-1.
This is ridiculous. Like,
Look at all the sheep in that battle.
yeah. The sheep have kind of been.
They're just hanging out, man.
They're apparently not too scared of this
Both players
war
lost.
going on here.
Somehow Castle Age behind this. Anatan looking so solid, so much pressure, making such a cheap unit, getting so much value. When Beasty sees this Castle Age, do you think he just taps out? Like, what is he going to do? There's army in front of his base that's bigger. There's army behind his base that's bigger. And we're going to have, what, Templar Brothers on the field in a moment?
Templar Brothers, as well as most likely the heavy Spearmen as well, which, I mean, Beasty, there's absolutely no answer for Beasty here up against those armored Spearmen, right? It's such a difficult unit to deal with when you're an age down like this, unless you have a significant army mass, which Beasty most certainly does not. But Anatan proving here exactly why Knights Templar is such a feared pick on these maps, not only because of his strength, but because of his execution as well, really putting Beasty up against the ropes here. The Castle Age does come through, but Beasty, of course, ever the fighter, will not give up, and rightfully so, right? Every single win matters so much here. You do not want to give away a game for free. You would try your best no matter what. I would do the exact same here in this case.
Oh, the Vils.
But from the back, the archers find a secondary wood line here from Beasty. Another 2 additional goes down. Even the villagers now pull their shanks to try to mount a desperate defense here, but so many will go down, Winston.
Yeah, struggling to click on the low HP ones there, but still 5 villagers down. Your opponent's up to Castle Age. I mean, what do you even do? You have a little more army now, but this unit comp surely can't play against Castle Age units, right? Like, there's no way it beats heavy spears. Kite it.
Yeah, it's so tough because of the armor, right? And
oh, with a big flank though on the archers, they're just gonna go down for free here. A lot of damage. But the heavy spears get their shots back, and things are just looking really awkward now. Beasty maybe going to try and raid with these remaining horsemen and try and plan for whatever's next. 10 gold in the bank now, just finally starting to get a bit of gold in. What the heck does he do?
A great value was gained from those horsemen and those Deserators. We see the destruction value is favoring Beasty here slightly at this point in time. The horsemen have been peeled off just to distract Anatan on his side. Now, what's good here for Beasty is that out of all units in the game, at least these Deserators are able to kite those armored spearmen here from Anatan, right? So he will be able to just shoot and run, and theoretically those spearmen will never catch up. However, the map is only so large, Winston, isn't it? And once those spearmen do reach the depths of Beasty's base, especially aided by what is now veteran archers on the field here for Anatan as well, the prime counter up against these horse archers, it's only going to get, up against these Deserators, of course, it's only going to get harder and harder for Beasty in this game. He desperately wants to look for that age up. He does have the advancement wing available for him if he does choose to go for it, but it's still some ways off in terms of resources.
Wow, you know, Beasty is up so many vills from the fish, but it's just not paying off. His vills on land are just constantly getting harassed. Maybe a few too many fishing boats, and oh my, we're up 2-0 for Anatan in this series. Could we be looking at a repeat? Could we be looking at another 3-0 for Anatan against Beasty?
Again, that is not something I think. Even considering the last result, the last time that was the case, I don't think anyone really expects that to happen again, right? So close to the first time as well. And Anatan, I mean, he's looking in prime position to do so. So far, this looks like it might be one of the fastest series of Masters of Steel so far, right? Including potentially qualifiers for that batter, as both players look and see Anatan looking pretty relaxed, right? Pretty comfortable with his lead so far.
That's the stance of a winner right there, right? Yep. That is someone who's going to be calm, collected, focused, not letting it get to him. We didn't see a huge celebration, nothing like that. It's not getting into his head. He knows that there's still potentially 3 games to take Beasty out here. We're getting close to our game number 3 here. As the players, just one last look at them before we head into this match. Oh boy, this is something spicy.
And what a match it is. It is game number 3 here, the Masters of Steel, top 8. Beasty spawning in the north side of regions in the color yellow, his signature yellow, as the Jushi's legacy facing Volda Esports is Anatan, the beast from the east at this point in time. Looking to close out the series here in a stunning fashion in the color green as the Byzantines. But he has a fight to do so as Beasty, especially when backed up against the wall, becomes absolutely fierce to take down, and he is not going to let up any sort of pressure in saving himself in this set and pushing through towards victory. But it seems like scouting is on the way, as expected. Here, the sheep are being gathered, and the early game, likely we're not going to see anything too crazy here. It's Jushi, as usual, is going to race towards that pro scouts, and Byzantines most likely going to work towards those cisterns. 62 stone already in the bank after placing that first cistern here for Anotand. What I'm really wondering about here, Winston, is the level of stone and cistern commitment that we will see from Anatan in the face of a very tempo, very timing-oriented civ like the Jushi's legacy.
Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, we saw, you know, Louis in his interview just moments ago talking about how once Byzantines have that 5 cistern set up in a bunch of olive groves around the winery, that things just really start to kick off for them and they really start to take place. And that's a decent winery. It is notably a bit forward, right? The berries are going to be tricky if Beasty ever does get in that position to deny the berries in some of the farming land. But yeah, we're going to see that first cistern. Things are looking standard and solid here. Beasty does have to contend with the fact that his gold is a little forward. And let's see, is this a decent meditation garden? Yeah, that's pretty good, I'd say. That's a solid. Not getting 2 minerals is a little tricky sometimes, but you can't always get the best, and that has plenty of trees in it to kind of compensate, right?
Yeah, this is a nice one, right? This is sort of like kind of the best close sort of standard meditation gardens that you can hope for. Pretty much the most important resources all under it, right? You have the berries, you have the gold, you have the wood. It's not one you can realistically complain about, right? A good bit of income there for Beasty, and it's safe as well. He doesn't have to walk out too far for it, so he's definitely going to be happy with that one here. Meanwhile, Anatan, winery, no surprises there. With the 3 on age up, and Anatan does this quite often, I find. He goes for that 3 on the winery, and I think it's a good thing to do, right? Because the thing with Byzantines, right, although once the 5 cisterns are up, the economy becomes staggeringly impressive, The issue is getting there because there's so many things you have to invest in early on. You have the systems, you have the aqueducts, but you also need upgrades. You also need the olive oil, and you also need units to defend all of this to allow it to happen. So sorting out the priorities early on for Byzantines, I think, is something that's very tricky, trickier than most people would give credit for. And it really is the separation between greed and calculation, right?
Yeah, and we'll have to see how it pans out, man. BC's back against the wall. You mentioned it earlier. Anatan has been bringing the pressure all game. Do you think we see a stopping point before 5? Or do you think this is something where he thinks maybe maybe has a strategy here where he really just chills for a bit and tries to match the timing of Jushi a bit?
Yeah, I think in this matchup in particular, right, the tables are flipped slightly from what we've seen in the previous games to where Byzantines is, I think, perfectly content just sitting back, getting those 5 systems, playing defensive, and consolidating their economy safely so, but stemming the tide until those days run out here for Beasty, whereas Jushi, they need to put on some relentless aggression, I would say, in order to really, push Byzantines to their limits and keep them on edge, because there's so many points to strike here for Beasty once he reaches that castle age. Realistically, there's not too much damage he can find in Feudal Age. I think the Byzantine army is just so effective up against the Jushi army. But when he reaches that castle age, things really open up.
Yeah, and we're seeing horsemen as the opening here from Anatan. I'm not too surprised by this. It's a decent way to deal with these scouts here, right? So I don't know if it's going to really deny much of the prof scouts. It's already well underway here for Beasty, so there's going to be some return here, but there could be a chance here that if Beasty doesn't catch or scout the stable here from Anatan, because you normally don't expect it right away. Usually you're expecting maybe, longbow, Limitani or something.
Yeah, and we see actually the classic here from Beasty. Not from Beasty, excuse me, but I mean in this situation, right, where you expect Limitano coming from Byzantines, right, and it's something to the point where you almost don't scout for it, right, and that is the case here because BC did expect those Limitani, but it's horsemen coming in from Anotand instead, so those Zuganu are essentially dead weight at this point in time, but straight away the barracks follow-up is there for him. And something that Beasty must be a little bit frustrated with in this point in time, as the scouts are forced to run away for a little bit away from the spears, from the horsemen, excuse me, until those spears hit the field effectively. And this is why scouting is so important. You slip up for just one moment. We spoke about this in the pre-game, right? You have to be so on point with this, otherwise you end up a little bit behind from the get-go.
Yeah, I mean, to a degree, though, I think, Beasty was able to leverage, supervise on the barracks and get a bunch of spears out really quick. I almost wonder if he had already scouted this and we just missed it, or maybe, I mean, it's a packed stable. Maybe he just kind of knew that this was inevitable. He didn't just want to make pure Jugnu. That's too risky. I mean, there was a chance, I think, if Anatan waited, that it would maybe have a lot more value. Now, the longbows make a decent amount of sense. We were maybe mulling over the idea of javelins, right? But not quite seeing that. Yeah, so longbow and horseman, not the most common. You usually see that with Limitane. Going to be a little bit less potent with Kyrosiphons later if we do want to see that. We did see Vortex going for that, so it's a little bit harder to build them with just the longbows because you're so limited in numbers of those. So we'll see, though, but horseman just trying to do a little damage, not really finding a ton right here with the spearman already supervised out, ready to defend.
The tough part here for Beasty, and something that Jushi often struggles with, is the longbows. Although obviously they're not as potent of an anti-range specifically as the javelins, of course that is not their role. They're a great all-arounder unit, whereas the javelins are specifically catered to be the stopping stone to any kind of ranged play. The issue is that the longbows are still so potent up against Zuganu on the additional range. Notably, both units have the exact same movement speed, so when it comes to that range, the longbows edge out over the Zuganu so significantly, so as long as Anatan is effective with his kiting, theoretically the Zuganu are going to be lucky to get even a few bolts off.
Yeah, and this is why we've been seeing people ban the Chinese civs, Jushi in China right now. In the current Prof Scouts meta, they're just so potent. And we're seeing here Beasty, able to field more military and get a faster castle time. And Anatan was a little bit slow to getting the Merc camp up. He was a little bit slow to picking, you know, the contract, the Western contract, a little bit slow. So he had 2 longbow packs in queue at the same time. So whereas he could have had longbows forward maybe a couple minutes ago if he had been a little bit tighter, he chose to delay that and wasn't really able to stop that age up by denying the gold at all, even though that gold is forward, and it could have been a really big issue for him. We do see the longbow coming out now, but he's already up on his way to Castle Age. Like, things are already really going to start cooking in the Jushi kitchen.
It's true indeed, the cook is about to start, and I think smoke is most likely on the cards as well. As you mentioned, Anatan, you know, once you do have that secondary batch of mercenaries, whatever it may be, usually with the javelins and longbows, the pressure can really begin to mount up for the Byzantines and they can start to take fights very, very effectively. However, Jushi, as we mentioned, and as you highlighted, the speed of that age up, the discount from the Tang dynasty, you know, I mean, a Beasty is castle age before Anatan is even as his secondary mercenaries out.
Yeah, but this is huge. Like, these scouts have been trying to sneak their way around, and this is a long walk home, right? And one scout going down, another one maybe going to go down here. 2 deer carcasses have been dropped in on regions, right? On the right corner, we have the berries and a boar. On the left corner, we have all those deer, and BC was trying to get cheeky with it and sneak a few in, and looking at his mill, it's got some food left, but maybe not as much as he was hoping, as we do have the forward play. There's an outpost there, but a raid on the back. The official not quite, just able to barely make it in. There's another official braving braving the storm, and on the front end, a couple of Vills going to be pressured, but able to hop in. And wow, BC's just going to stay under there with the Lancer, take some damage.
Significant idle time on both sides here, right? Anatan causing it with the horseman, whereas Beasty, you know, he's not holding back whatsoever. He is out for blood in this game, number 3, as he pushes directly towards Anatan's gold. And the Golden Horn Tower actually is idled out, I think. Do you see that?
Did he accidentally garrison everybody and forget?
Almost. So it's meant to be built with 8, but I think not all of them were there on it at once. It looks like the speed has picked up. He's yet to get.
Garrison them maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
And then, to shoot, and then they weren't all working, but yeah. So going to be grabbing a few of the relics as Beasty with that faster castle timing. It's something that Jushi is so solid with, and I don't know, like, he's got the pressure on the gold, and the Golden Horn Tower takes some time to really kick in. Looks like he got a little lucky with the longbow pack, so that's going to help kind of fill out that mass, right? He's going to have 20 longbows on the field, which is quite a lot to contend with, but 8 Lancers, 2 more in queue for Beasty. Jushi is just really starting to cook here. This could get spicy.
Yeah, the pump is
already
real.
quite spicy.
Indeed.
Maybe too hot.
Yeah, I mean, I can feel it. This could even be a wing-eating contest at this point, but this is the issue with opening horsemen here for Byzantines, right? You get that map control early on. You are able to have mobility here on a civ that normally struggles with it, but when that castle timing hits for Jushi, you suddenly find that you quite desperately need a lot of spears very quickly, which you didn't have beforehand, and that's certainly the position Anatan finds himself in here. Relics, meanwhile, being collected. I mean, there's more lancers on the field than longbows at this point in time, Winston, as the second, the third and fourth batches are in production, just like you highlighted. Undermesh on the way now for Beasty as well, certainly going to offset a decent chunk of that longbow damage that's going to be coming in here, but Beasty, up to 3 villager kills now as well. And do we have a level 5 sister network in at this point in time? Not yet.
Stopping at 3. We did talk about this at the start, and almost Louis' point as well is they're really good once you get there. They can struggle at this stage of the game, and 3 Limitati on the field. What is happening? 11 Lancers just diving the base here. The villagers, the units, everything's going to go idle in just a moment here. There's just really no answer. What does he do? His Vills are just idle. The Jugnu behind are going to help support and kill off these Vills. I mean, I guess the Lancers are taking somewhat of a rough trade here. The Longbows really did deal a lot of damage, but it's just not going to be enough. They're going to get forced even further under the TC. Idleville time's really starting to add up. The Jugnu going for the dive. 7 worker kills now for Beasty on the field. Potentially more to come here, maybe on the front. If some follow-up raids are coming, this could just be a moment where Anatan just falls apart. 24 idle villagers. The economy's completely stalled out here.
It is. The worker kills on top of the idle time is very, very significant here for Anatan. However, notably, a lot of Beasty's troops did go down. That's the great thing about the longbowmen on the defensive here. They shine so much when it comes to defending a base. The additional range, that extra damage really coming in handy for him there. Daddy Horses was not in this entire time here for Beasty. Certainly something he must not be too happy with. He did prioritize that secondary undermesh upgrade there for him, level 2 in, which was helpful there on the offensive, but not having Daddy Horses definitely hurts. Now, there are more Lancers on the cards for him here. But something that I think many people often forget about this map, Winston, is that there are a lot of deer, but notably there's less deer actually than on a normal map, isn't there?
Yeah, there are less, but they're more contested, right? So if you're able to get them, you can kind of get more than if you just got 2 of your own packs, right? But in this case, I think Beasty's probably okay with it. I mean, it's Yushi, he had to play it this way. So, I mean, once the Civ was picked, this is kind of the style he was to go for. But I'm really looking at, you know, the next play. I mean, a big part of Regions is controlling the gold, too. And we're kind of slowly getting to that point. Obviously, Jushi, a little bit more efficient with the gold, right? Able to get a little more gold from their officials throughout the entire game. And the central golds in the middle really define the mid-game here. Getting keeps up in the center, getting control up, being able to send, you know, 10, 20 vills to gather that gold. It's a huge risk. So if you don't have the army for it, the game can often just end rather quickly, rather abruptly, you know, just as it's normally starting to build. If you forget to really play the map as it's meant to be played, things can fall apart quickly.
Speaking of falling apart here, as the Golden Horn Tower spawns a new batch of longbows, but probably at the worst time here for Anatan, as the charge comes in from what is now Dali Horses Lancers here on the field from Beasty. He dives directly in, almost picks up another villager, but not quite. However, idle time is lost, not only on the wood line, but the gold mine as well, as Beasty is going to get out unscathed here with most of it. One does go down on the retreat there, but for that idle time, probably worth him, you know, on the back as well.
And just the unit numbers themselves, and this is what we're talking about, being able to go out into the middle is such a huge boon right now, and that is because of map control. But now you're at risk, right? If Anatan takes one good trade in his base, he will just march forward and deal damage. Now, right now, he is more, you know, he's more dealing with these raids, which every time BC's run through there with those knights, more than half the economy is idled almost the entire time. And that's been pretty brutal. I'm sure we'd see that on the graphs. And look at that army value. Beasty getting the 4th relic. Things are starting to look really good for the Serbian.
Indeed, even the 5th relic now starting to come back for Beasty in this game number 3. Definitely needed for sure, and but the numbers as well just keep swelling here for Beasty. Another perk of that Mount Lu Academy for him. A lot of the taxis also dropped off as food for him by the Imperial officials. Certainly got to extend the lifespan of those days under the TC. And now looking to fully secure that center. And on this map, Winston, right, once that middle is secured and gold access through, it's so difficult.
So difficult to come back, and we're seeing a couple outposts. This could be followed up by keeps. We don't see the mass move to stone just yet. I don't think we need to. From BC's perspective, I don't think he needs that, right? I think just keep making army. It's been working. Why stop? We could see that transition to more fortifications later, but I think BC might just be going for the throne here. He might just be going to win it.
And the timing is absolutely impeccable here for Beasty, right? Exactly when Anatan moves with essentially half his economy onto the northern berries. Such an important part of the map for Anatan at this point in time. Crucial to get as the Byzantines in this position. And we talked about how Zugelu struggle against longbows, but not when they are double in count here, as Beasty looks to completely remove Anatan from game, and he does so successfully. Beasty takes game number 3.
Yeah, GG gets called, and that's an important one for Beasty. He avoided total disaster, and like that could have been a 3-0, but BC looked so in control with Jushi there. We see exactly why players are prioritizing this in most drafts. This is probably a strong reason why BC was happy with his draft, and he was able to prove it here. Will the rest of his draft pan out? We'll have to see. Could it be a reverse sweep by BC? He has Malian still, correct? Like, that is a huge part of his playstyle. That's a huge history for him. We're going to have to see how this goes, though. But Anatan, he's been preparing for this for weeks. Surely he has something ready to close out this series. He's still on match point. He still has 2 wins already. Just one more, and he'd secure a huge win for himself in this tournament.
believe we had confirmation that we are almost
I see
ready to
hands
go
moving.
here. Oh,
I
there
see
they
hands
are.
moving.
The speed is uncanny.
Everybody back in your seats. We got another game on our hands. Let's go. Masters of Steel. Anatan versus Beasty, game number 4.
Anatan spawning in the southern side of Mountain Clearing, a map we haven't seen in too long a time up until this tournament. Certainly an interesting map in the current meta. He is going to be the Green Ottoman's fitting color indeed, facing Beasty in his signature yellow as the House of Lancaster in the north side of the map. And I note that this map in particular is something a lot more players have wanted to see more now, specifically because of the siege changes that have happened a while ago, right? You know, previously Siege has been really dominant on this kind of a map, but the entire dynamic has shifted quite significantly, right? And it can now lead to way more dynamic games, I think, than in the past, which should be a joy to watch.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we saw Wham making really potent use of Night Siege comp. It was Springled Mango, Siege, and a few other supporting units, namely a bunch of Springled Outposts. But we'll see. I mean, a big factor on this map, of course, is the Central Sacred Site. Like, basically, if you get map control, you start a timer to win. It's that simple, and it's not even like shortly. It's like you start it really quickly. Like, people prioritize getting it because if you can get relics, you can also get the Sacred Site. And you should probably start it. If you can get the relics right now, you could probably hold the Sacred Site and then just really put your opponent in a bad situation. So Beasty looks like he's just trying to... So instead of trying to push them, he's just trying to centralize his deer into a single spot. We're not seeing that push out into the central boar, like we talked about, could be an option. And Anatan... I mean... No real surprises. You just build the middle school, you just chill, you vibe, you build up some spearmen, but they're not really going to get much value here. Maybe he can try and do some spear pushing, but that's not really the same as it used to be. It's way longer to get deer under your TC. Now, those deer right next to the middle school, probably still going to work, but, you know, for the rest of it, looks like Beasty already got to some of them. So maybe 3 deer under the TC. It's not a bad investment, not a bad payoff.
No, it's not bad at all, right? As you mentioned, they're pushing way more difficult and time-consuming than before. Not really something that you can effectively do any longer, rightfully so, I would say. And those spears, yeah, so he's going to use them to push. You know, I was half wondering whether he might actually use the spearman to deny the ball completely away from Beasty potentially up in this game. But I'm quite surprised to see Beasty not actually going for the ball at all, like we mentioned, right? I see no reason not to, realistically, right?
I think the only reason you wouldn't is that it takes a pretty long time to go through the boar, but you need to send 8 vills.
Yep.
And as Lancaster, you probably don't want 8 vills on a boar once you hit Feudal. You want to reshift your economy to wood and gold, to wood and stone, right?
True.
So I think part of it might just be that he just doesn't want to commit the vills there, just have to pull like 5 back. So because what Lancaster uses, what, like 3 vills on food?
Yeah.
And then from there, just on sheep, you have the sheep bonus. You're already like using your advantages, but we'll see. I'm really curious about how this mid game is going to play out if we get to that. Obviously, crazier things could happen, but I mean, getting map control seems like it might be a bit hard for House of Lancaster. If they're going to spend too much time investing, right? Do you really just give Ottomans a moment to kind of get to their production phase, and then there's just suddenly 10 Spahi, and you just can never take map control with Yeoman?
That's something you have to be very careful of, right? Just the Sipahi. Few units are as effective at diving and raiding as Sipahi in Age of Empires 4, and out of so many players in the game, Anatan is someone who has really made a name for himself with his Ottomans up until now. Just so effective at utilizing the bonuses and showing how strong they really are up there with the likes of, well, his inspiration, 3DB, and of course Louis MT is also a very scary Ottoman player as well himself. And the tournament address is going to finish up here for Anotand. On the other side, the Lancaster Castle now done for Beasty as well behind this. We're going to see at least 3 manas, most likely, here from Beasty.
Which gold, so I'm expecting the tech as a follow-up. So I think we're going to 6 here, unless it's just enough for like hardened spear. Well, you.
I think you would need at least.
He's got 3 on gold. No, he's keeping 3 on gold. So I think this is for the tech. I think he might be going to 6. He's staying on stone. Like, this is definitely. I would definitely assume 6 manners, maybe. That's a pretty greedy opening. It's going to give Anatan a lot of time, but alternatively, you could say, well, what is he going to do with a few yeomen right now?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he can't afford Castle Rush, right? So It kind of makes sense here. Meanwhile, from Anatan, we're seeing the stable. So it's going to be spy from him to get a little map control. Now, the wall off here is pretty tight from Beasty, and even pulling the Vils to spook out that scout. He said, no spying on me. Shot his shot. Didn't quite take it down, but what do you think the follow-up is for Beasty here? We mentioned that he probably goes to more manors after this, but maybe not. Like, maybe this is just for blacksmith upgrades. Maybe he thinks he can just FC.
It's tough to call, right? Because we have seen so many builds coming out of so many variations on manners and the cast stage timings from Lancaster, recently especially. I'd be, I think 3 manners fast castle is just as possible as 6 manners into units or fast castle as well. And I think what's really interesting about House of Lancaster is, as you mentioned, 6 mana seems like a very greedy opening, which realistically it is, but at the same time, once you do get those manas up, if you are being pushed, you have way more income than with 3. So, in some ways it can almost be easier to hold an all-in with 6 manas than 3, quite interestingly so, especially once those lords are, of course...
Oh, we're going forward.
Oh.
Where are the Vils going? What the heck? Oh, just to the deer.
Yeah,
I panicked for a moment. I was like, no way he's going to like the boar right now. But yeah, just securing more food. Interesting, if Anatan does spot this, he's going to have units on the field which can deal with this. I think he's nearing the point where he has enough spy heat to just push the button and just take out a single spear. Right, like you could just instantly wipe it. And maybe that's just a problem for Beasty, but not quite sure. A second stable, which should be spotted by Beasty, and the wall's going to be open, although you got the mana up there. Like, you're not really going to get too much value unless you can really deny the wood line for a long time, but I'm not going to be surprised if that doesn't happen, right?
I wonder if we can have a quick little look here at the Vizier here for Anatan. I believe it was the sheep that was called in, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was the sheep, right? Quite commonly, we also see the imams being pulled here, which is a very, very good point for any early skirmishes as well. And Beasty is absolutely hoovering up those there right now. There are 3 spares with 2 additional ones in production here. And what's really good here for Beasty is because there are no imams, the Sipahi have to be so careful about engaging up against this, right? It's not like they can take a direct fight up against these spares as long as they use their mobility to escape. That is not going to be a possibility here for Anatan in this game just yet. But
White Tower where?
It is going to be White Tower.
Where?
Yeah.
On the board, maybe? Like, do you think he can just...
Does he dare?
I mean, do you think he can just go forward, though, a bit more? Like, securing the Sacred Site, like, it would be a win condition, right? Whereas if it's in your base, is it as much of one? I guess he can't get there, is what you're saying.
I just,
very much so unlikely.
I think he would love to put it there if he could, but the reality is that yeah, I mean, with the level of investment here from Anotand in this feudal age, you just can't, right? Like, you simply cannot force a White Tower right there in the center. I mean, there's so many Sipahi. Yeah, it would have to be somewhat safe, but, it might actually have to be safe. Yeah, it's safer than even than Beasty would like at the end of the day, because, yeah, it's not even like he secures his secondary, his starting stone there, right?
Yeah, but he secures an FC here with basically no damage taken. I mean, the army value is looking quite good for Anatan. Things are solid. He looks like he's going to be stopping production. Nope, accused of 3 more spy. So, a bit of a... No way, this is a misread, is it? He just feel he needs more units to stem the tide of, there's going to be 3 Earl's Guard on the field.
Yeah, I do believe that's most likely part of it, right? Because the 3 free Earl's Guard, and this is something that's common for men-at-arms, Sipahi, because of the additional range, they're pretty much able to actually kite men-at-arms as if they were ranged units because of that additional...
throw a dagger, man.
They do throw a dagger.
A lot of damage.
So they're quite unique in that regard, and it does do a lot of damage. I mean, notably, right, the 3 free Earl's Guard that come from that White Tower, they can one-shot a villager with the daggers.
Wheelbarrow coming in as also BC. Not forgetting too much about the eco. We don't see any manor text just yet, so no real indication that he's going to look to boom behind this. Looks like just some knights use the free units. And the spy, you're going to try and look around the top now. There's only a couple defensive arrows here, and they don't deal that much damage, so if there's a bit of a misplay, it's a problem. But with the White Tower there, there's just no shot that these spy can get anything done.
Yeah, even with the additional armor from the Mechter, it's not going to really be possible to dive a building as powerful as the White Tower, not at this point in time at least. And it is going to be Lancer Knight follow-up here from Beasty, which, not something you too often see against Ottomans. I mean, in the early cast rate, it's perfectly fine, right? As you know, Janissaries, it takes a while to go into those in decent mass, and you know, against civilizations like Lancaster that have such potent.
Oh, this could be huge. Losing these to the Spahi would be devastating because Spahi could get us around with these numbers.
Yeah.
Back off his Anatan. Beasty needs to build up his numbers before he moves out, and even adding a monk, so maybe a little overconfident in actually securing these relics. Now, of course, there's one right in his base, right in his face, so he'll get that one easily, but the rest of the relics might be a bit tricky to deal with this Ottoman all-in and Feudal, right? I mean, Anatan is building up a macro that could probably go to castle at some point, but right now he is just spending his resources.
He just
all in, and this is like the third time he's attacked this wall piece, and he's burned it down once. He's just being really annoying about that. Just be a little cheeky bugger, getting in there, doing some pressure, but maybe giving a little bit too much time in the middle. We're going to see some relics come in soon, probably.
Yes, I mean, with the Imams on the field now for Anatan, the Vizier point has been chosen, and the Imams will do a great job in their healing there. Means that Anatan, as long as he doesn't take any, you know, excessively extended fight, he's going to be able to trade really effectively using that healing, and Beasty almost gets pinched there as the Sabai move. Oh, that was really, really close there.
Still might happen. The move speed is there, not quite able to do it. Oh, that was almost massive, though. I mean, Beasty does not have a lot of units on the field. Garrison the White Tower, maybe, to get some extra arrows. Not quite going to happen. Losing a spy in the end. So Beasty able to maybe get a good trade there, but trading at that HP on the Knights is so hard when you only have 6 on the field. That's just so much mass from Anatan. And we're getting to that point where Beasty's not really getting that much value from this. And there's just a chance at some point in the future that Anatan goes castle, has way more units, gets the upgrades, and his army's unkillable.
It's an interesting position for both to be in, right? Beasty obviously way behind in mass here, but Anatan, even now, again, reinvesting a little bit further into this feudal age. So it's almost this dance of how much does Beasty actually need to push across versus how much does Anatan keep investing so that if Beasty does push across, he's actually safe before that castle age, as he is, of course, an age down. It's always, I think, a very interesting position in games as Beasty getting a little bit bold with the raid here, but the Sabahi.
Oh, he idles his units. He's going to get trapped. No. Oh, and a beautiful surround on 2 of the Knights. 3 will squeak away, so Beasty may be somewhat pleased with that, actually. But still, losing so much, like that's so much of his units. He's still, his knight count has not been going up. We're still at 5. And it's been a while now. The Earl's Guard count is going up, which is an interesting choice. But you mentioned before, the Spahi actually don't trade all that bad. And we're getting the melee attack upgrade. We're getting full blacksmith. This monk is going to get caught out. BC did manage to secure 2 relics, but this third one not going to be the case. We did build 2 more manors, I believe, just now. Maybe even all 3 of the new ones. We got the tech on the side of Beasty here, but on the side of Anatan, what are we looking for? What is our plan? Not quite sure. Looks like Castle Age coming up at some point here, but will it be enough? I think it will, honestly. I kind of like Anatan's position. The castle raids, what have they done so far? Nothing. The Knights haven't even been able to get across the map. Anatan has been so aware on this smaller map, and as soon as he's Castle Age, he could just grab the Sacred Site. He's got the Imams on it already.
It's true, he does. And the rest of the remaining relics, for that matter, as well. So the additional golden cup is going to be very significant here for Anatan, and he's about ready to pull the trigger. The Mechmed Imperial Armory is now on the way for him with 8 villages. No real need to rush it, right? The mass from Anatan is so severe. And Beasty, I mean, yeah, really, what is the right choice for Beasty in this situation? I mean, there's such an overwhelming amount of Sabahi and Spearmen and a good chunk of archers on the field as well. You can keep making Osgard and...
Oh my gosh, Anatan is just always in the perfect spot. His positioning has been simply sublime this game. I absolutely love how he's been playing this. It's so clean. It is so clean. I cannot stress enough how easy it is to let a couple nights slip by when you're playing in these mid games against a player who's up in age, and just suddenly you lose 2 vills on the wood line, and like then the game falls apart. You have to retreat your army, so instead of having pressure, you lose pressure. And here, Anatan has just been so good about it, and the archers getting a little caught out in the middle, but the spearmen are there. And look at the sheer number of Sapahi that will soon be vet.
It's kind of getting to a critical mass here for Anatan, and the upgrades will be coming in shortly for him as well. And the Sipahi, I mean, in these counts, this is something we've highlighted before, right? They're able, with that range, they can attack from behind the spearmen. The damage goes up so significantly in these fights as opposed to any other regular horseman. You can see just how anemic Beasty's army is looking in comparison. Sure, it is way higher quality, but the upgrades are coming in quick. The Archer veterancy on the way, veteran Sipahi on the way as well, alongside the wheelbarrow finishing for him. And I'm sure now Anatan could very easily start adding some crossbows, janissaries, or even lancers of his own up in this composition. Wololo. Anatan doing a bit of a Beasty in this final game, as Beasty often uses the Wololo to distract his opponent. Anatan taking a page from that book, turning it onto the originator himself.
Yeah, and some idle time here. We did see it stack up a lot in the last game. Anatan's responses to some of those raids were a bit dramatic at times, right, in the previous match. And here we're seeing another big pull from the Vils. He did have a spearman chasing that knight. So if he was perfectly aware, he should have known that that single knight was coming. And we saw the Wololo, so maybe that was somewhat trying to zone it. We saw the Vil pull before, but I'm not quite sure. We did see some sneaky knights in that south corner of the map. Did try to go through the trees, and they did make it right on top of the Vils, and we were just talking about how Anatan was playing so well in keeping these knights at bay, and here he was unable to do it. 6 Vils have gone down in a blink of an eye. Beasty strikes back. Will it be enough to deny match point from Anatan this game? Not quite sure yet. The Knights need to survive in order for this to really be worth it, maybe. Or maybe he's just ahead enough economically. 6 men is on the field. We saw some of the levies get called. At least the Shire levy was called, right? There's so many yeomen, so this next fight is going to be decisive. The Sacred Site being decapped and going to get recapped by Beasty himself. Anatan, what has he got against Synchronized Shot? Another raid. More Vils going down. Myriad, what is happening for Anatan?
It's too much. And they pinched on the gold mine as well. No escape for the villagers. The value from the knights is immense here. And I thought, you know, Beasty, I don't think he was actually able to skirt around the edge of the wood line there to escape from the Sipahi. So what does he do?
That's it, got in.
Yeah, he's just going to dive once again. He's just going to dive again and get even more value. 13 villagers killed here for Beasty from Anatan. That's so painful.
Even a farm transition at this stage is Lancaster, and this is when the true power will be revealed. The yeoman mass finally getting shot, and he doesn't know, but Synchronized Shot is in. If the archers don't move in time, they could just get pounded here.
Yeah,
see, oh, and it comes in!
Massive shot on top of the front line. The front line, however, is somewhat unsusceptible to that synchronized shot, right? Now, there's not too many spearmen here for Beasty, however. Only 4 left on the field. The Janissaries, I believe, have been called in as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Guards, though, the Earl's Guards have been holding the line against Spy, and another raid. 14 Vils have gone down. Beasty with the Central Sacred Site. He will not go down. He is refusing to die in this series. And even more night raids, more fights on the front. The gold in the front of his base, not going to be usable. And now the production buildings are going to get camped by Beasty's yeoman mass. 53 on the field. We have veteran spearmen behind us on the way. However, the front line has gone down. The yeomen must retreat to defenses. But here come the Spahi. They're moving forward. Will it be enough?
Yeah.
This is kind of a desperate moment for Anatan, it feels like.
The cavalry is bloodthirsty at this point in time for revenge for what was dealt in that game as he dives desperately on top of the Master Beasty, but this is everything Anatan has left. The Mangonel, upon spawn, it got destroyed from the Mehmed Imperial Armory, and yeah, it's not enough. It's simply not enough, and GG is called. Beasty equalizes the set, and we have game number 5 on our
Game number 5 in this dramatic series here. Anatan came out with a plan. He came out striking. He wanted to repeat. You could see it. In game number 2, he was doing so much to stay calm here, and we saw a little bit of a head shake there. He is not happy with how that game went. And now, game number 5, Beasty just feels like he's in position. Look at the posture. The posture, right? He's maybe not. But we got to see that confidence, right? You got to see the players in their zone, in their element. It's a LAN event.
Yep.
The opponent is right there. You can see them out of the corner of your eye. Those little things, they matter at a LAN.
You know, it wasn't just for the show. I'm telling you, when Beasty is backed into a corner like this, he is so dangerous. I mean, how often, you know, have we seen, you know, either he's playing a game or something, especially on his stream where he says, oh, I'm dead. And he's far from dead, realistically, right? It's almost a meme by this point in AoE 4, right? But what a great matchup here to end the day, isn't it? I mean, one of Beasty's favorite civs here in game number 5, going against the powerhouse itself, Holy Roman Empire. Here we go.
And we have it.
Indeed. Game number 5, Masters of Steel. Day number 1 here of the top 8, Beasty. Spawning the north side of the one and only Dry Arabia as the yellow French, facing Volta Esports' Anotand. In the color green as the Holy Roman Empire in the southern side of the map. And here we go, a classic matchup on a classic map. What better way to end the series here in a matchup I think is actually closer than a lot of people would think.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, right? I mean, it could be really interesting. I think at times HRE's been favored historically, but French, I feel like, you know, in the past year or so, has had a bit of a comeback, a little bit of a renaissance, one might say, as they've found some strategies in the current meta. Obviously, the professional scouts doing so much for the Civ, the discount, as the cost has increased on it, I feel like French has gotten more and more relevant because their discount on ecotechs has made them relevant again, I feel like, because now there's a huge investment to be made early game, and they have a reason to do it. And we already see the second scout from Beasty, so really trying to make sure he secures enough sheep, and that also transitions nicely into the prof scouts play later. So you don't always see that second scout variation, but from French it can make sense. You know, you can make up for it with TC time later, right? Stuff like that. It just sort of pans out. On the side of HRE, we're going to see no surprises. Chapel on the wood line. Pretty standard. Might be a little disappointed that there's no secondary resource within this, but he'll have sheep, he'll have wood, and as long as he got enough sheep, it's okay. But we do kind of want to see those sheep counts, actually, because this is very relevant right now. BC did invest in the second scout. If he's able to deny enough sheep, things could get really spicy.
I think it's going to be massively significant here for sure. And honestly, I love this idea from Beasty in this game number 5, especially in this matchup and especially on this map as well, right? I mean, if you're able to get a significant edge here in sheep, you know, especially as the French, who's going to be very aggressive, if you can pin HRE, they might have a really strong economic edge over the French, but if they don't have the food, how are they going to match the numbers, Winston? And, you know, we see Chapel, right, from Anatan and School of Cavalry coming in from Beasty, or somewhat classic. However, Minework Palace has gained a particular amount of popularity recently, and especially in this matchup, because the old Pikes technology, right? I mean, Spearman and Horseman composition from HRE and other citizens in particular against French can be so potent.
It's a really good idea.
Yeah,
and all Pikes really works into it. And this Akin isn't like, I mean, Akin is so bread and butter to the Civ, you don't really second guess even like a mild placement, but it's not even getting the gold, right? So it's like, you're not going to have some sort of crazy timing in FC. Like, you're going to need a prelate there in Castle Age if you're really trying to do a lot with knights or crossbows or siege or whatever your plan is in Castle Age, right? Like, it's going to be a little uncomfortable later on for Anatan, so he's clearly got to be planning something around surviving this feudal age. Maybe he's going to put on some pressure. Maybe he's just going to defend with spears against the knights, because knights are certainly coming. It'll take a little bit of time. Sometimes we see variation where players will make a few knights before getting prof scouts, but I doubt we're going to see that here. I think it's going to be direct into prof scouts, which means you have a bit of time before that first night.
Yeah, it's true. It's possible, right? It's one of those things that comes down to preference. But looking at Beasty's food, yeah, I think you're completely right. It's going to be an ASAP Pro Scouts timing here. And pretty damn good one here for Beasty as well, considering he's already got two Scouts on the field as well. Anatan, no surprises, is going to be there first as the HRE, the Prelate boosted economy, always a massive bonus for HRE in any game they play whatsoever. It is actually going to be night opening here for Beasty, and you know, that's perfectly fine. It's one of those preference things here when it comes to the French. So
it's before prof scouts, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I mean,
so
that's an interesting variation. I mean, I guess you're just assuming, you know, Anatan is ahead, right, in the timing, so you just go for it, right?
Yeah,
it's a lot of sense.
It's a good thing to do, I think, right? It gives you that early pressure to keep HRE sort of pinned in their base, because they will sort of get that earlier timing when it comes to Pro Scouts because of that strong initial economy.
Prof Scouts.
Oh, wheelbarrow actually.
Ignoring prof scouts. Are we just gonna? Is this some sort of plan here?
I think
Ignore it and deny.
Intentional. this might be really intentional here from Beasty, specifically because of the sheep advantage he finds himself under. He might look to severely punish Anatan here.
For investing.
For his lack of sheep, for his investment into Pro Scouts. I think Beasty is going to be absolutely relentless with the aggression this game.
Yeah, only a few sheep left. I mean, it's still a decent amount to work with, but you'd be surprised under the Aachen, it's just gone so fast. I mean, it's the mill now, just to help, make it easy for the Prop Scouts to be where you want. And yeah, this is an interesting variation. I'm really curious if Anatan is aware of this, because French have just been so bread and butter into Prop Scouts. I'd say this is one of the first really big deviations from meta we've seen. And I'm curious how this is going to go. I mean, maybe this is something in this matchup. I don't play this matchup too much. There's a lot of matchups, so I don't have a ton of experience in this exact one, in this exact meta, right? So maybe Beasty has something in practice that he knows, right? This could be just part of his game plan with French in general, though, right? You have the Knight here. It's going to be in position to deny. Spearman, though, with the extra move speed from HRE, going to be in position to defend. So seems kind of like a little bit of a wash here until the archers show up.
Yeah, you have to be quite careful here as the French. Sure, you do have those powerful knights, but as you mentioned, the additional move speed from the HRE Spearmen is not to be underestimated. I mean, the Spearmen are actually faster when they charge than the knights, which is so notable. The first day is going to get picked up here by Anatan and brought a little charge from the knights is going to keep Anatan on his feet and on his edge here, making sure he keeps paying attention. And this is what you really want to avoid as Anatan in these cases, allowing your spears to get split up. Yeah, just a free spearman.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like he was going to get away with Beasty with a little bit of a little charge trick, able to do that. Now, has massed up 3 archers in the middle. Not quite a mass, I suppose, but they are there, and it is kind of enough. But, HRE with the speed can run from this, but it looks like Anatan, a bit slow to retreat here, does take quite a lot of damage, and this is the kind of snowball that really matters when you need every possible unit you can. You have invested hundreds of resources into Prop Scouts right now. If your current military does not survive, your opponent will keep snowballing. We see more knights coming in, more spearmen are going to be needed. Horsemen are on the field. This is a great moment for all pikes to make a play. We do see archers from Anatan as well, even though there's no spear from Beasty. So these are just to fight against the archers, I guess, and just provide a little bit of poke damage. But at this point, you're almost 8 minutes in. Your first deer pack isn't even complete. At this point, has Anatan looked at a second deer pack? Probably, right? It's just behind the first.
Yeah,
so that positioning is brutal. If Beasty's able to get here and deny all the deer, this is brutal. Oh, but a big pickup from Anatan. Has the horseman ready in position. It's going to be annoying, though, because now he knows this is the thing.
Yep.
I think the biggest thing is realizing, in case he didn't know now, he now fully is aware. Beasty didn't go Prop Scouts. If I defend this and I get across the map, I get his deer. Right? This is a big meaningful moment in this matchup because those deer are still going to be on the field if Beasty's denied from them. So Beasty has to play on point if he wants to take this. But we'll see. The archers are now in position. The Aachen Chapel itself under threat. A lot of the deer have been moved to that mill on the left, which is well covered by the TC and the archers in the defense here.
Yeah, that was a very nice addition by Anatan, I have to say, just to ensure that they are in the exact safest position possible, whilst also still being underneath that Aachen Chapel. And Anatan is going for the tricom position, at least initially he was. There are 3 archers on the field, but production has yet to resume on them. And Beasty is going to have a significant upgrade advantage here as well. We see Wheelbarrow is already in. Double Broadaxe in as well. Steeled Arrow, more than halfway finished for him. And the mass, I mean, the mass favors Anatan, but I think the composition really favors Beasty here, right? You think, tri-composition is better for Anatan, sure, only when the mass is there. The control is so much easier with 2 units here, especially as with knights and archers than it is for Anatan when it comes to tri-composition, and he recognizes that. He's just going to look to blob as many horsemen and spearmen as he possibly can to try to push Beasty away from his side of the map. But that's easier said than done, Winston.
Yeah, did we see a second stable? Because I just saw 2 knights in queue. Is that 2 stables for Beasty or still just 1? Okay, so we're not seeing the biggest possible commitment just yet. We're going to see, in a huge raid, Beasty didn't notice for a while. 2 mills go down. That is exactly what he couldn't have happened because HRE still has deer under the dang Aachen. And now Beasty going to be in trouble, but he's going to go for the counter dive. The Aachen Chapel may be a little undefended itself, but there are enough units, a bunch of idle time in return. Okay, so the French Ville bonus has essentially been denied.
Yeah.
And some of the Prop Scouts are getting caught again. But
Yeah.
where are those horsemen for Anatan? Are they
It's
still
normally-
waiting?
It's normally when you get raided like this that it's a signal for you to go in this position as Beasty. That's the thing he knows. He sees, right? There's 5 horsemen on my side of the map, which means that they're not at home. And that is prime time for Beasty to go in. As he does so, again, more deer being denied here from Beasty. The food situation is getting desperate here for Anatan slowly. The income is still looking pretty healthy for him, but for how long? When those villagers are gathering 35% faster underneath that Archon Chapel. Finally, Iron Undermesh is coming in here
Really
for
getting that?
Anatan.
I'm surprised by that choice before like a second stable. Right. Like a little bit. Like his numbers are not great.
No.
Like 10 is okay, but like that number needs to keep going up. You need to keep that number like high as French in this matchup because it's scary. Once the spear mass is there, they're so fast. It can be hard to make sure your archers are always in the right position. Like H3 really feels like there's going to be moments where they can make and take the fights they want. And this might be one of the fights that Anatan wants, but is it? That's a lot of knights still. The horseman gonna get on top of the archers here. The counter charge was in for French, but the horseman just gonna be wiping the archers off the face of the earth. There's still so many spearmen, 10 spearmen still on the field. Too many for the knights to engage Beasty, trying to backstep and take fights as he goes. Gonna sacrifice the archers to keep the massive knights alive. 7 archers still on the field, but where are they? They're back at home, not at the front here. Anatan has to be comfortable with this. The army numbers still in his favor, even after all of this. The army value in BC's favor, but the numbers still that like it's still just a lot of counters.
It's a really tricky position, I think, still for Anatan, right? Because, okay, you reset the archer mass. That's always a very, very good thing to do. But it's the knights that you really care about. This knight number that will keep on swelling. Oh, a little pinch.
Oh, a trap, a trap.
Quite big. The trap almost comes through here. Beasty has to be so careful not to get a couple of knights trapped here, because if he starts dwindling in mass, then it begins getting really, really scary for him. Anatan secures a little bit of breathing room for himself in this position, but there we go, right? Second stable is finished.
Chivalry.
Second archery range on the way for him as well. And yeah, Chivalry is going to be coming into as well. Horticulture as well on the way. Beasty, I think, is feeling still pretty cozy as long as he just is able to get back up that archer mass, get up to that sort of 20 or so number to
on the front.
safely take these fights.
Gold, undefended, no knights to protect. Another Ville goes down. These little raids are getting so much value from Anatan, but counter raid on the Aachen, the farm transition even coming in. That could be an interesting signal to Beasty that maybe Anatan is feeling the pressure a bit here for food. He's out of deer.
Pressure indeed, for sure. I think if we can have a quick look at
the raid
Anatan's
again, though.
berries as well, see if he has any left at all. Yeah, those are about to run out as well, Winston. And I don't think he has many deer left here to pick up either yet. There's pretty much no deer left, just a few still there in that southern bank. But there's so many knights on the field, Winston. I mean, and all these knights are going to heal.
Oh, Anatan, I'm starting to feel a little bad for him. It felt like for a moment he had it all coming for him, but I don't know. It's not necessarily panning out here at this point. Some walls up on the sides to defend these raids could put Beasty in a really good position economically, tech-wise. He's so good. Anatan just now getting wheelbarrow. The army value now over 2,000 resources in advantage for Beasty. That Night Mask up to 15. We're soon hitting that point where he can maybe just take a straight up fight against the numbers of those spearmen. It wouldn't be a great trade, but if he took it and won, that could just end the game in the right moment.
And one very important detail to keep in mind is this is such a classic compositional matchup that we see here, right? The mass melee horseman plus spearman up against the knight archer. This is timeless by this point. We see it so often. And time again, it is proven that the larger the mass gets, the better it is for the archers and knights, right?
But the raid, once again, another Ville gonna go down, right? Yeah, that Walling Ville taken out really quickly, and the horsemen are getting in once again. BC surely not happy with the timing there. Maybe could have just sent another Ville to wall, and oh my gosh, was he looking? I don't know, but he had to focus on the front. The spearmen trying to take a good engagement, but the archers once again have braved across the map, Myriad, trying to take control of this game. Towards the Aachen Chapel he marches. There is no army to defend. Idle time galore. Here comes Beasty. He wants more.
It's too much. It's just too much here for Anatan to handle. The mass is just way too overwhelming here for Beasty with a fantastic read in game number 5 here. The double scout taking the food here from Anatan. there's more knights on the field than spearmen at this point in time, and Beasty's picking up villager kills for himself as well on this side. Once again, poking in towards the economy here from Anatan. The economy, which is pretty much all centered around that Aachen, which at this point in time is pretty much inaccessible.
Can we check the left side of Anatan's base? He just floated 1,100 gold. Did he just have a market? Does he have a market? He bought food.
Oh, no.
Desperate times call for desperate measures. He has sold his soul for this, just selling a lot of his close gold for food. And now the army from Beasty, 54 military on the field, as if out of nowhere. The eco upgrades, the economy, the timing of the Aachen Chapel just getting denied too much. The Prof Scouts wasn't enough. And now Beasty in a prime position, up 4 vills. He is now neutralized and equalized on those vill kills. And the French privilege strikes again. Just having more vills is their right. And here comes the Knights defending the archers. The horsemen have to retreat. And now Beasty, walled up on the north, has united his forces for maybe the final push of the series. Game 5 on the line. Myriad, what is happening?
And look at the size of this army. More knights than spears is never in a position you want to be as a spear user, as the Aachen Chapel now under siege from heretics in this game number 5, as Beasty looks to push in relentlessly with those knights.
We're closing in on a dive.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a chance Beasty backs up and goes castle. I don't think he needs to.
No.
I don't think he needs to. Anatan gonna go for the flank with the horsemen, maybe. If you go too deep here, you could get stuck in a bad fight, but I don't see a world in which the fight goes in favor of Anatan. The numbers needed to be equal or greater for Anatan, not this far behind. The horsemen gonna potentially get a good flank here, but is it gonna be enough? The Knights get the surround this time as a payback to before. The Knights get the surround. The archers going to be microing down the spears, only 20 on the field, but there's 22 Knights here. Will it be enough? Beasty just going to full commit to this fight. Myriad, what is happening?
The Knights
Is it enough?
holding fast up against. You can see the mass from Anatan. It's anemic in comparison. Less than half of Beasty's military count. And it looks like we're getting in the last moments. There's nothing left but Anatan.
The reverse sweep. He just reverse swept. Anatan wanted to repeat that 3-0 so bad. And the handshake GG. Fierce competitors, but friendly ones at the end. Incredible stuff from Beasty. I feel so bad for Anatan in this moment. He had just clawed 2 wins against Beasty with superb timing and gameplay, and I feel like that Ottoman game, just that one raid, did that just get in his head and just, I mean, the confidence, I feel like it just dissipated. I don't know. Beasty, though, looking so solid in those follow-up games. Myriad, what do you think is going on this series? What happened? That was insane.
I'm almost speechless, frankly. I mean, Anatan in stunning fashion and so quickly as well, just dispatching Beasty in those first 2 games. And you know, it's just, I mean, what can you really do? Like, it's just. The reverse sweep is unprecedented in this kind of a situation. I wonder what it was exactly that went so wrong for Anatan in that case. I mean, Beasty's just such an unbelievably powerful player that, of course, you know, it's Beasty's own ability as well that carried him all the way through. But that game, was it that game number 3 maybe where things went wrong for Anatan? Or was it potentially the Ottoman game like you highlighted? Yeah. There's so many possibilities. But even this last one, it's such a close matchup, I think, nowadays. Was it maybe the frustration of being behind in sheep like that and being just so behind in food?
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it at the start of that last game, like being up on so much military because you chose to skip Prof Scouts. It put his villagers at huge risk to be on the map. And we saw Anatan did initially scout it. Then he did follow up and punish that play, but it just wasn't enough. Anatan, on his own side of things, was unable to secure enough deer, enough sheep in the early game to really keep that economy going. And we saw initially he was able to keep up with the numbers, but the moment the deer ran out, you're on berries, you're doing a farm transition, and at that point, the game just feels so futile. Against French, who have more sheep, they're cleanly on the map at that point, so able to get both their deer packs without a huge investment. Well, a bit of walling, a couple vills died, but I guess BC's going to throw that as water under the bridge, right, for victory. Those vills were sacrificial lambs, one might say. But yeah, what an incredible series, guys. That was one of the best ones I've seen in a while.
Such amazing games that we watched between Beasty and Anotand. And my first question is to you. Like, in the first game when you played against Anatan Japanese, well, we got, of course, a restart, which, all right, that's okay. But still, that was some crazy plays by Anatan. How did you feel about game 1?
Yeah, I mean, I think Japanese is super strong Civ, and I mean, you saw that game. It's really hard to play against. In a remake, I think I found 3 sheep, so I ran out of food super fast, and he managed to deny my second deer pack, so I basically ran out of food super early. So from then on, I tried to do some raids with archers, but like he reacted immediately to every one of those, so I kind of felt like, all right, well, this ain't looking good for me.
Really important for me about the Zushi versus Byzantine on game number 3. The reason why it's so important for me, because that's we've seen Zushi versus Byzantine before, but of course there was a neutral post on that game. Here not. So how did you feel? Did you feel like you're gonna win because there is no neutral post?
Honestly, after the first 2 games, I was like, damn, I don't think I'm playing bad. I think I'm just getting kind of destroyed. So going into 3rd game, I was like, okay, let's just stick to the plan. Just go with it. And I managed to pro scout. I don't think I lost any scouts, and it kind of went pretty smooth. And then when I started raiding, I was just like, oh, okay. I did it. After the first 2 games, it went pretty bad. I won the 3rd one, and it was just like scouting, make sure I know what he's doing. And once I hit castle, once you get lancers, I think it becomes kind of a lot easier for you to dictate the tempo. So I think the main difference in this whole series is in the games that I dictated the tempo, I feel like I won, but in the ones where I was more passive, he got the edge. So maybe that's the trick.
My last question was about the House of Lancaster versus Ottoman game. It felt like very passive, right? Anatan was so long into the feudal age, making like a crazy amount of sipais, and you also felt like a little bit that you can move out, you can't really punish to do any kind of aggression. You stayed around your white tower, but at the same time Anatan couldn't push in. How did you felt making that amount of yeoman will actually solve the case?
So I've played against that kind of style before on pure land maps against Ottoman. So basically, Sipahi have very high base damage. So even though you might see like, oh, it's feudal versus castle, that's an easy one. If you actually move out, you will get destroyed because he had like 20 Sipahi. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to raid. But again, he kept defending raids really well. And the 1-2 raids that I got in did a lot of damage. So I figured he might commit into like Janissary or crossbow because of my knight. So I just went mass yeoman. And then I just did a full switch to spearman. And at one point, I did a couple of raids at the same time, and I pushed through the middle. And he just you can kind of see it in the opponent when they start kind of fumbling units. They're not micring well. So I feel like, okay, I'm overwhelming him. Let's just keep pushing and just go for it.
All right. I actually have a question, a very important one. What we have here in front of us is a bunch of quotes, and one from you specifically is, everyone has a plan until they get rated on gold. Your favorite quote. Is that what you felt the spirit of that final game was?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's playing really well. I feel like everyone's got a plan, and then the raid hits, the knight kills a villager, and you're like, oh, I lost a villager. And then you go back on the gold, you lose another one. Woodline villager falls, and then I think the game falls apart pretty quickly after that. I mean, you saw it in game 2 on 4 Lakes. The moment I lost the gold, I got raided on the gold. I mean, that's it. I had a plan.
I know, because you mentioned that 4 Lakes is also a pretty comfortable map for you as well. So especially going up against Anatan. Anatan did go boot camp before this, so his team was out there supporting him too, and they were very proud of his performance. What would you say about Anatan's growth, like in the last few, I would guess last year?
I mean, it's always a bit scary whenever you play against someone that you haven't played against in a while, because you don't know what kind of strategies or shape they're going to show up in. And obviously he played really well. Like, he's improved crazy amounts over the past year, and he just keeps on improving. So I look forward to see what he can do.